Rolling intro in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Tech Soup Podcast. I'm your host, Neffy, and this is the podcast. If you like tech, join us for the ride. So, today we're going to be talking about 3 interesting topics. We got DJI rumors of the new Pro camera. We also have the Google Pixel Watch leaked photos. And lastly, we have a small recap of the Apple event. So, stay tuned. So to start, we got DJI leaked images of their new DJI Pro camera. Now, DJI, of course, has been a big player in drones, of course, but they've also been for a long time they make products for cinemas and for cameras, and they've been doing it for quite a long time. And I myself have a DJI Ronin SC, which is a gimbal for cameras. So DJI, with the expertise that they have in gimbal technology, camera technology, drone technology, has finally decided to make a pro cinema camera. Now, I have these leaked pictures right here. And if you want to see the video, go down to my YouTube channel and my name, Nefi ALULEMA, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. But there you'll find the video of this podcast, and this leaked images of the DJI Pro Cinema camera is actually really interesting. So the images itself have what it seems to be like half and half of a gimbal and half camera. Now, I honestly don't know exactly how this is gonna work, and if it has interchangeable lenses or things of that nature, because what it looks like from these photos, I don't know if you're gonna be able to change lenses on it. But from what it looks like on the pictures, it's and like the pictures don't tell you much. It's all just kind of like designs of what their camera's gonna look like. But based on the photos, it looks like this camera is gonna have it's not gonna have interchangeable lens. So that could be a bummer unless they come out with their own different lenses for this camera. So I honestly don't know what the target demographic for this camera is, but they're calling it the Pro camera. So, I mean, you have to assume it's going to be for pros, right? But what it looks like on the pictures, it's actually a pretty big size. It's not something too small. It kind of looks like the FX6 and the new camera. I think it's the C70. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it also comes with a display monitor on it. And from what it looks like, I can't say for sure, but it looks like it has some sort of V-mount battery on it, which is actually would be pretty nice. But I mean, the most interesting part of the camera itself is actually the gimbal part of the camera. So in the front where the lens is mounted, has like a 3-axis gimbal on it, is what it seems like. And it's actually pretty interesting because the 3-axis gimbal is basically what they use for most of the gimbals that they have. And from what it looks like, it's obviously going to be very steady with the gimbal that it has, because DJI does a really good job at with their gimbal technology. So, I mean, and these are pro camera images that have emerged. It's hasn't been confirmed that DJI is making this camera, but I mean, rumors don't lie too much. So this is a pretty interesting design. I'd like to see a real model of this camera and what they're actually what they have actually designed this camera for. Now, I mean, it's hard to tell, but if it does not have interchangeable lenses, I don't know how appealing that will be to the filmmakers, just because they're gonna be stuck with one type of frame, and I don't know. It's suspected that it might shoot 8K, but I mean, you never know. I don't think it's gonna have 8K. It might have 4K, maybe even 6K, 5K, but I don't think it's gonna be pulling 8K out of this camera, especially with the way it's designed. But I mean, you never know these days with technology how far it's come. But it's a pretty interesting design. It's something different, and I'm sure they're out to be different in the space. And of course, adding a 3-axis gimbal is gonna set them apart from the competition. And I mean, why not? They still make other products, and these consumers are gonna gravitate towards something like this if they feel like they need it. So I'm sure it's gonna sell. But yeah, interesting design. And that's the latest from DJI. Besides their other mini drone that they released, and their FPV drone that they barely released. So they're actually doing quite a lot in the innovation space, and I wouldn't be surprised if they even announce something else. And hopefully, if this is true, I mean, I'm hoping that it's true and these images are real, because it's kind of nice to see something new in the camera space, something refreshing, something that hasn't been done before. And it'll be interesting to see how it would be used in cinema. So DJI, I would give you a round of applause. So for the next topic we're going to be talking about, we have the Google Pixel Watch. So Google Pixel Watch is something that has been talked about for many years. And like, honestly, I've been tired of waiting for the Google Pixel Watch, to where I almost picked up a Samsung watch. But the thing with the Samsung watch is that it works best when you're using the Samsung phone. And that kind of becomes an issue, because I like to use the Google Messenger. Google Messenger is actually pretty great. I really like the Google Messenger. So, but these leaked pictures of the Pixel Watch are actually pretty sleek. So remember, if you want to watch this video, if you want to watch the video, go down to the YouTube channel and then watch the video and see if you could take a look, and then I'll post the links on there as well. And also be sure to look for the Twitter. I'm not sure what it's going to be called yet, but I'll probably link it down below on the YouTube video, but that should be coming up soon. So anyway, we got the Pixel Watch leak teases a round design with a physical crown. So it's like, I mean, it's a watch. Of course, it's how much different can you be with a watch? But I mean, with Google and their Pixel devices, it has a certain Google look, which is something that I actually prefer. And I have a Pixel 4 XL. I haven't gone into trying to buy a Pixel 5 just because I like the big screens. I don't like the small screens. The Pixel 5, I mean, it's not small, but it's smaller than the Pixel 4 XL. So for me, it's not big enough. And then the Pixel 5, the specs on it the specs on the 4 XL were actually better than the specs on the 5. Like, come on, Google. I don't know what you're thinking about not doing the XLs anymore, but I think it's time to bring them back because you keep just going to the 5 and then the 5A and then the 6 and the 6A when a lot of your consumers want the XL. So back to the watches. The watches are actually pretty sleek. I like them. I like the colors that these leaked images have. They have an orange, a gray, and like a light blue. And what's most interesting and what actually draws me to want to buy this Google Pixel watch, because as of right now, I still don't have. I held out because I knew Google was gonna make a watch eventually because they have to. If they want to compete with Apple, they have to come out with a watch. If they want to compete with Samsung, they have to come out with a watch. But the Google Pixel watch is interesting because it's gonna have the Wear OS, which is basically the Android, the the interface for Android devices and their watches and everything like that. So, but Google being Google, they're gonna try to do something different with their Wear OS on Pixel devices, and I'm sure they're gonna do something pretty cool that you can do with the Pixel phones and with the Google Assistant. Now, as of right now, it's all rumors and as of sucks, and nothing's been confirmed. But just remember, Google not too long ago bought a wear company, a watch company, Fitbit, for a decent amount of money. And Fitbit has been in the smartwatch industry for a long time. And Fitbit has been a leader in athletic watches. So, I mean, combine the technology with the new Pixel watch that could potentially be coming out. It's going to be a game changer, hopefully. And I'm excited for it. Hopefully, you guys will be excited for it. But, I mean, it's something that's been rumored for years and years and years, and nothing has come out. I mean, you have how many generations of the Apple Watch and it still hasn't even come out? But it'll be nice for it to finally come out, and then we can finally have something to talk about, something to compare to the dreaded Apple Watch that everybody loves. But you know what? I'm not going to lie. The Apple Watch is a great watch. And if I could use it without having an Apple phone, I would definitely use it. But it's really not worth it if you don't have an Apple phone to use it. So for us Android users, the Pixel Watch is going to be a contender in the space. So that's something I'm excited for. Now, the article that has these leaked images basically says something pretty interesting. So I'll go ahead and read it. It says, going by Wear OS features, we'd predict a suite of fitness tracking features and smart handling of notifications and things like navigation from Google Maps. We'd not be surprised if Google made the Pixel Watch very Google Assistant centric, as well as adding some Pixel grade customization, likely offering tighter integration with other Google products and services. Like, so if you have like a Google Home, I mean, you never know, the possibilities might be endless if you have Google Homes. Now, in my opinion, I really love the Google Home. I have Google Home. Let's see. I have one Google Home, two Google Home, three Google Home, four. I have four Google Homes in my home. Now I have one in my office, I have one in my bedroom, and I have one in the kitchen, and then I also have one in the living room. And what's cool about the Google Homes is that, if you don't know, you can kind of basically link all your Google Home devices. And if you have, let's say you magically have one in each of your bedrooms and each of the rooms in your house, you can link them all together and basically have like a surround sound party. And one of the newest features on the Google Homes is actually something you could do with surround sound. So if you have a Google Chromecast, you can basically connect all these Google Homes and the Chromecast, and then you could have like a surround sound experience using your Google Homes. Now, I personally have not tried it just because I only have one in my downstairs where I would want to even do that. And then the rest of them are upstairs where we would use both two of the bigger ones to listen to music and when we're cleaning or doing dishes or things like that. But I mean, anyways, the Google Pixel Watch has been rumored for quite a long time, and it's just unfortunate that it hasn't come out yet. But there's been a lot more talk about these Google Pixel Watch devices that have been rumored and leaked and all of these kind of things, but have not been released yet. So I'm hoping in pretty near future, hopefully sometime this year when they announce the new Pixel phone, that the new Pixel Watch is going to be released with it, and hopefully with the new Pixel XL. So the next topic we're going to be talking about is Apple products. So Apple just recently had their event not too long ago, a couple days ago, and they revealed some new products coming out in the near future. So there's a list right here in this article that I have, and the first one being a new redesigned, guess what it is? iMac. Now, I personally, I'm okay with iMacs. I think they're decent computers, but the redesign on this iMac is actually pretty nice. It's sleek. It has small bezels except for the chin. I mean, that's a huge chin, but who cares? They have some pretty cool colors. They have like a teal blue, you know how Apple Colors does their things. But what's interesting about this new iMac is that it will have the new M1 custom Apple chip. So supposedly this new Apple chip is something magical that is going to change the way computers are going to be in the future and how computers will be ran. But I mean, for the most part, Apple computers have been decent in processing power. But as of lately, Apple has kind of, I don't know, been missing the mark. So they introduced their Mac Air not that long ago with the new M1 chip, and I mean the performance was not too bad. It's pretty decent for what it is for something that didn't even have a fan. So, I mean, you won't know unless you try it, but I mean, I stepped away from Apple a long time ago. I have recently used, not too long ago, before it it died, but I used a Mac Air for a lot of my schooling. And for school, I mean, it's a great computer. It's never really had too much issues with it. It was always, and mind you, this was 2011 version of the MacBook Air, and this computer, I mean, for how many years old it was, I mean, I never did anything too intensive on it. The most intensive thing that I did on it was use Adobe InDesign, but that's about it. I never went too crazy on it. But yeah, that's the first rumor. Actually, the first announcement that Apple made in their latest event. So this next one is actually something that a pretty I'm a fan, and I like the innovation of this product. So Apple announced their AirTag item tracker starting at $29 each. So they're actually some tiny, not tiny, but like they're pretty small, kind of like the Tile. But what's interesting about the AirTags is that Apple has basically run some type of software that's going to run some type of tracking on when you're looking for your device. It's going to kind of use other Apple devices such as like iPhones, and it's going to start pinging them, and then it's going to start searching for the whatever you put your tag on. So for instance, if you put it on your wallet, so, and let's say I have an iPhone, and then I turn on my iPhone, and then I say, oh, search for my device. And then, so basically it's sending out a signal to all these other iPhones, and then it's going to use those iPhones to find your device accurate distance. And it's going to track it from feet away, which is actually really cool. And that's some interesting technology that they're going to be using on that. And I think it's actually really smart using these other devices, kind of like what they use for their maps, and what Google Maps does when they're looking at traffic. So it'll just basically take your GPS signal from other devices, and it'll that's how Google Maps and the Apple Maps knows that there's traffic ahead, is by using other people's devices. And I mean, I'm fine with that as long as it makes people's lives easier. So I think overall this is actually a pretty interesting innovation that Apple has come up with. And I don't blame Apple for not being as innovative over the last couple years, just because it is a business at the end of the day, and they got to make their money. And they do make their money, but I digress. Back to the next item on this Apple event. So Apple introduced the next generation iPad with the Pro M1 chip, Thunderbolt, 5G, XDR display, and some more stuff. So, I mean, I like iPads. I have nothing against iPads. I wouldn't pay for one, that's for sure. But I mean, I have nothing against iPads. Do I think they're worth it? Not so much. But I mean, it's a good quality device. I mean, Apple iPads did get introduced many years ago, and did kind of again change the industry with some of the products that they came out with. back in the day. So the iPad is going to have the new M1 chip, which is supposed to help it perform a lot better. It's supposed to help it have longer battery life, and this one's supposed to have more storage and everything like that. But nothing too crazy. It's just basically just a little upgrade from your last iPad, which won't really do much. But the iPads are great. No complaints about them. Just too expensive for me. But then you have their next announcement, which was the new Apple TV 4K, and it has what they're calling an A12 Bionic chip and redesigned Siri remote. Again, just another upgrade from whatever last Apple TV that you had, and I'm sure it'll be cool to have. But just remember, when you're looking into these new 4K products, make sure that your TV is compatible with it and you're going to get the most out of it, and you have decent Wi-Fi. Because if you don't have decent Wi-Fi that can handle 4K streaming, then having this type of device, this 4K streaming device, is not really going to do you much, because the quality is just not going to be there. And that's just a quick tip. So, and to be honest, I myself do not even have a 4K TV yet, as cheap as they are, just because it hasn't been a necessity for me yet. Once my other TVs break, maybe I'll dip into the water of some new TVs. But I mean, if I had the money, I might just skip over 4K and go to 8K. I mean, the technology is catching up, so who knows? But you know how much those TVs are. Oh, and one of the biggest announcements from the Apple event was the new iPhone 12 color, not the phone. The new phone hasn't been announced yet, but the new iPhone color is purple. I don't know what else to say to that. It's just another color that's gonna be added into the Apple iPhones. I mean, it's cool, but like, you really wasted this money to announce a new color. But anyways, like, I don't mean to sound like an Apple hater. Maybe that's how I'm coming off, but that's not how I mean to come off. I think my personal opinion about Apple is that Apple has been one of the leaders in the industry in innovation, as far as this is hard to explain. Innovation as far as Apple goes. Innovative in the whole entire space, not so much. But I mean, they're slowly catching up with these other devices like Samsung company, and it's I try not to come off as an Apple hater, but sometimes it's hard, just because the whole Apple ecosystem kind of traps you, and that's not what I want. The Apple ecosystem is not that appealing to me. I mean, and especially the thing with the Apple ecosystem, and I'll say this: the Apple ecosystem is great if everybody you know is using an Apple device. But if you have a mix of friends and coworkers and family members that have some Android, some have Apple, some have Android, some have Apple, then it's going to be really tough for you to communicate with people that have Android, because FaceTime does not really work on Android because it doesn't exist on Android. So if you're trying to do video call, it makes it very difficult. Another reason is the messengers. Now, and the Apple messengers have their own thing that work great with Apple devices. And that's the thing. It's like the reason why I prefer Android devices is just because overall user experience does not lock you in to one manufacturer, which is what Apple does. And that's kind of what I don't really like about Apple. Now, they have been creating some interesting technology recently, and they've been trying to change a little bit. But as far as being super innovative, not so much. They don't even have touchscreens on their laptops. Like, come on. Like, at this point, they should just get rid of the touch bar and put a touchscreen. Like, why? You can make it just as thin. Like, I don't understand. And maybe that's just them being stubborn because they had said once that they were never going to do that. And it's just this whole thing. But I mean, I am a fan of this new AirTag and the technology behind it. It's something different, something innovative. It's going to help a lot of people when they lose something. And I know there's the Tile out there, but the Tile is not as innovative as this new AirTag. And hopefully some other companies will come out using something similar to this. Google, hopefully. But I mean, the whole industry, the whole technology industry is mainly just copy each other, do a little bit different here and there, and then call it good. But as far as the Apple event, this is the Apple event, and I went off on a little tangent about how I feel about Apple. But I mean, Apple, still a great company, still great products, good quality products for the most part. And I don't really have much negative things to say about Apple. Now, as far as the event, they did not really say too much in this event. Besides, I mean, it is big news that the iMac has finally had a redesign because it hasn't changed in many, many years. But what the base model is, just the specs of these iMacs is just like, I don't know what they're thinking, because you already know these iMacs are going to be super expensive. And if you're paying for a base model and then you have specs that can't even compete with cheap Windows devices, it's just like you're just trying to steal people's money. And that's another thing I don't like about Apple, is that they overprice their items for things that, like, for memory, it adds on hundreds and hundreds of dollars onto your final cost of you buying a device such as a computer from Apple. And it just becomes something that's super absurd, and that it shouldn't even be that crazy just because you want a little bit more memory. So, and they've decided to go to step away from Intel and just start creating their own chips, which I commend, which is actually really, really smart, because then they'll have more engineering capabilities within the products themselves. They won't have to outsource processing chips from Intel. And yeah, it's great. I mean, they're going to save money in the long run once they're using their own iMacs, which is going to be once they start using their own M1 chips, sorry. And I don't know. It's maybe I just went off on another tangent, but that's my biggest gripe with Apple is their pricing. I feel like it's not necessary to be overpricing for these quality projects, quotation marks. It's just not, it doesn't seem like something that should be so expensive. Let's just leave it at that. So, anyways, this is the first episode of the Tech Soup podcast. If you want to listen to more episodes of the TechSoup podcast or watch them on the YouTube channel at my first and last name, NEFIALULEMA, then be sure to go there and subscribe and watch the video version of the podcast. It'll give you some closer looks at images and maybe even videos in the future. And I will, in the video when I post it, I will link the article links and also social media links, and I will be starting a Twitter for the podcast. I just need to see if the name is available. But it will be posted on there. Most likely it'll be the TechSoup podcast on Twitter, and I'll probably on there. I'll probably on the Twitter. I'll probably post the articles as well once I get that going. But yeah, this is the first episode. I mean, it's more of a trial episode. I'm trying to see what's gonna be the best format for me, and if you guys like this, I mean, it'll be fun. It's different. I do like the live element of it, and that's something that I tried to incorporate in it when I started it. I do have some video just to make it easier in the editing process. So yeah, this is the TechSoup podcast. I'm your host, Nefi, and if you want to listen to more tech and anything like that, subscribe and follow the podcast, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.